Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Jedi Grand Velle Productions. I am Jedi Grand Velle. How are you doing? And with me is Mr. Kevin Lambert of the Entertainment Headquarters. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm feeling good. I'm champion, as they would say in the UK, and I'm ready to talk some Mysterians.
Okay, and we're about to get in because this is what we're going to be discussing on another ambient episode of Takasasu Corner. Very well, I can say well known, but probably not talked about. Uh, Classic, sci-fi classic. Well, that's not it. Hold up. No,
That is it. But
that is it. No, hold up. Oh, that's not. Hold up. What the world? How did it? No, I was supposed to get this. This is what I was supposed to show. Yes.
That's what that looks like it. Definitely.
Yes, that's
Jedi Grand Velle.
Wow, that was interesting. Okay.
As you can see, anything happens and everything can happen when you're live, baby.
Exactly. But that's what we're going to be discussing. The Takusasu Classic, The Mysterians, which was released in 1957 and directed by Ashiro Honda. And I must say, this is actually the first time this studio would use this particular type of brand of filmmaking, which is why I'm wearing this shirt, because this is a very nice shirt. Comfortable too. And before we go further, go ahead.
I was going to say, for them that don't know, why don't you talk a little bit about Toho Scope and what it meant?
Well, Toho Scope is nothing more than their own brand as far as it goes. You know, I mean, at the time, you know, widescreen pictures that were filmed in 2.35 ratio scope were expanding in the theaters. You know, I mean, they had like a CinemaScope. They had different variations of this, and CinemaScope in the United States was very big. You know, it was basically 20th Century Fox example of saying we're expanding the world, and this is what we got. We got CinemaScope. So Toho,
it's a bit like where, you know, like now people talk about IMAX.
Yes.
And then before IMAX, you had like 3D, and like if you had a film, they would say, "Right, come see Avatar in IMAX."
See that? Well, exactly. I mean, it was a fad or something like that. It's there, but the thing about this is that, like so many fads, they will eventually fade out. But they took this to where it's like, okay, we're journeying into something where, okay, we've been focusing mostly on a 1.85 ratio or even 1.33 ratio with the film. I mean, and true enough, you still get the full effect, but you want to expand your horizon. So when Toho Scope came around, they decided to say, well, let's give a picture that's really going to show or showcase this kind of, you know, picture ratio. So this film here, which is The Mysterians, was the first brand or film to really introduce this. And trust me when I say, filming in that scope really broaden your horizons of what you're watching. You know, I mean, this film is so beautifully shot, and it's just a beautiful film. But before we get into all that, your thoughts on this film, and when was you first introduced to this film by chance?
Well, I think you very, much know. I've heard about the Mysterians. Hello, Kaijurigi. Hello, Jake Hall as well. Sorry, never said hello to Jake. But hello to you two guys for watching. But as you know, I've heard of the Mysterians. I'd never seen the Mysterians. I don't know why it took me so long to watch it. I think it's because I had heard mixed feelings and mixed people, different reactions to it. Some praised it, some were like, it's okay. And because of that, I kind of was like, took me time, but I watched it just the other day for the first time. And then I watched parts of it again today to prepare for today, for the stream. And I find it quite an interesting movie. I see elements of other sci-fi classic movies in this. Obviously, it's tokusatsu, so it's got that feel. It's got that whole ambient of like the 1950s and the 60s and 70s, that classic sci-fi feel. Because as you know, during the time period of this particular era, it was the era of wacky sci-fi, like, just like 1954 or just prior to 1954 with the Beast of Thousand Fathoms, and then Godzilla, you had the crazy kaiju era, the giant monster era. Every country, every movie studio were trying to capture on the feel and, of the giant monster film genre. And then we got into like the likes of the War of the Worlds and, stuff of that nature. And it basically the crazy sci-fi era began. And there's some classics out there, and obviously like the Time Machine, all of this kind of crazy stuff.
And don't forget about Tarantula, what we discussed a while back.
Yes, Tarantula was during that time. But like going away from like the kaiju kind of stuff, it was also the era of like just genuine crazy sci-fi. And this film captures all of that in abundance. It's got aliens, it's got a giant bloody crazy robot, Mogira, who, as we all know, does make later appearances in the kaiju genre in Godzilla series, but this was his debut.
Yes.
And like I say, I had never seen the original Mogira in action. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed because I felt as if he was wasted in this.
Okay, and that's understandable.
But overall, it's what you expect. It's just a wacky, crazy, fun sci-fi film.
So I guess in a way, like his character is more like, okay, he's there for effect, but it's like, yeah, it's not really what we expect.
I just don't understand why you would introduce, the Mysterians. Going into the story, it starts off where you've got these people, there's earthquakes, and then they go to investigate the earthquakes, and the next thing they realize that earthquakes are being caused by this, obviously, robot that now plows out of the mountain and starts going rampaging through the Japanese countryside. They then manage to defeat it by blowing it off the bridge with weapon fire. And then next thing, there's this reveal of the Mysterians, these alien beings that came from a distant planet that was in between Mars and the Earth, and it was from a planet called Mysterioid, and which went through a civil war and self-destructed. And then these aliens have been living peacefully, or what we think peacefully, on Mars. And now they've made their way to Earth because they want to basically claim some land and marry women to try and repopulate the Mysterian race. But obviously, we'll go into it as the plot progresses. It gets deeper. But then I think once you introduce Mogira, it's a great setup having this giant robot. But then you don't really see anything of him later on. It's like a cat and mouse game between the human race and the Mysterians trying to outsmart each other while the Mysterians are trying to conquer the Earth. And, so I just felt as if with Mogira, you have a great first appearance, introduction to this amazing character, and then nothing else materializes with him till near the end, where you just see him pop out of the ground for 1 second, which what was the point?
Because he gets his head, he gets decapitated in some sense. I'm like, what? It's like, that's it? And it was quick and painless, it's like, that's unreal.
But I just felt I was a bit disappointed after, especially don't forget my first introduction with Mogira was in the Godzilla series.
Yes. With the space Godzilla.
Yes, like obviously that Mogira was not just a robot, it was a spaceship, it was like an armored, tank. And I thought, oh my God, love the idea of Mogira, this mobile kind of robotic spaceship / robot. And then we get his introduction in the Mysterians, and I just feel as if it was, I think because we're also still in the era of crazy kaiju films, they had to have some sort of, instead of having a giant alien monster, they introduced it to an alien robot. But then I think they tried to steer a bit away from that and focus more on the sci-fi in the plot, the alien element.
Well, do you think he, like I say, he, as you mentioned, when you first introduced him in a latter film, do you think he got a little bit robbed of?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
he was robbed. Who blows a fucking robot off a bridge?
Yeah, I mean, it's like okay, it's like okay, but you mean tell me that's his?
It's not just that; it makes no sense because he's a technically advanced robot that's being controlled by an alien race who easily gets knocked off a bridge and is incapacitated for the rest of the movie. But if they're so technically advanced, the robot would have just stood up and continue plowing through the countryside.
Right.
Like if you think about, if you look at like say Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, or in the Terra Mechagodzilla is near unstoppable.
Yes.
But no human weapon can touch it except when Godzilla appears in Godzilla, and even in the first movie, it took King Caesar and Godzilla to defeat him.
Yeah. That.
And then in Terra Mechagodzilla, he's got a companion. He's got Titanosaurus, and Godzilla's getting the absolute shit kicked out of him. Right. So there you go. There's a good example of like an unstoppable alien robot, where in this he's easily defeated. But if you think they're trying to keep the sense that Mogira is an alien robot, and the Mysterians are so advanced, they've travelled from, Mysterioid, which has destroyed, they're now living on Earth. They've now built this dome that now comes out of the ground. They've got an advanced technology. Yet they can't build a fucking robot that can survive falling off a bridge.
Right. Well, and I think you bring up a good topic with that is the fact that, that's kind of what the film is kind of basically saying, that they're relying so much on science, they don't realize the so-called negative point of knowing that it can break down, it can easily be defeated. You think it's so, like godlike and to a degree, they don't realize like there could be some false, some kind of like what you call, there's some fallible moments where it can be defeated easily, but you don't see it that way because you feel like you're so advanced, you built this thing. But it's like you don't think that something small. It's almost that so-called Vietnam motif, where it's like you got this so advanced, technological kind of army, but they get defeated by the most primitive of so-called individuals compared to them, and it's like they kick their butts. It's like that's the thing you have to look at. Science you rely on, but you got to remember science can only take you so far if you're not letting yourself be, how can I say, weakened by it to a degree, mentally, and I think,
Yeah,
that's a good point though. But no, for you, like I say, you've seen it for recently and everything. Me, I knew about Mysterians for a while. I really heard about it like in the early 90s, something like that, and I kept seeing it broadcast ever so often in the 2000s. And this is when I was introduced to wanted to buy something for something of a movie that I couldn't find at stores or anything like that. And I said to myself, well, I'm gonna order something this off, and it was from Amazon. So I just happened to see the movie, The Mysterians, for sale, and I said, like, you know what? I'm gonna try to see if I can buy this and see if it's worth the hype or whatever, And I feel like I'll give it a whirl, I mean, it's nothing big and whatever that. So I bought it and looked at it, and like, I mean, maybe for you it's a little different. For me, I took it as like, wow, this is something different. I mean, how is it I never saw this film until now? But I feel like anything else, as you said, Magora, it seemed like he should have got a little bit more airtime through the picture. But hey, it's what it is.
I think, like I say, I think the film starts off with like it basically introducing Magora as like a tribute to the kaiju genre, but then they try to veer away from it and have make it more like a sci-fi movie. Right. And stick with just the alien invasion plot.
See, the thing about this is this was not officially the first time we've had aliens come to the planet in terms of in Japan. There was a movie like 2 years before this film came out called Warning from Space, and it was from another studio too, and it was dealing with, and you probably have seen that. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, but I'll explain to people here. It's a little film that's called Warning from Space, which involved the infamous starfish aliens. If anyone's watching and have seen this film, it's it's a very interesting film where starfish, you think they're invading Earth, but not to a degree. They're not invading Earth to try to not to how can I say to destroy it. They're there to rescue it, which is crazy.
Sorry, Walter. Cat problems.
Brother, we all got problems. Don't feel exempt. We all suffer. But no, if you've ever seen this film, Warning from Space, it deals with starfish aliens, and
all right.
And unlike these pig villain Mysterians, they're not trying to. And let me see. Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think this is another one I haven't seen. Warning from Space.
Yes, Warning from Space is dealing with the starfish-shaped aliens, but they can transform themselves into human beings. Human avatars. So, but if you ever
decide to mention Avatar, didn't you?
Well, I didn't mean it to mention that film because that's not, because literally you know what? It's a different type of Avatar. I put it like that, but yet it's the same. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But if you ever do watch the film, it's not so bad. It's just showing the aggressiveness of an alien species trying to rescue Earth from a doom encounter of a meteor or some type of another planetoid that's going to crash in and destroy Earth, basically.
Well, it's like what I was saying to you. It starts off being like a kaiju, like a tribute movie by introducing Magora, but then it kind of stays away from that for the majority of the film after the what happens with Magora, and it focuses on the sci-fi and it focuses on the invasion angle with the aliens. So like you had Battle in Outer Space, you had War of the Worlds, you had Target Earth. I don't know if you've heard of that. Plan 9 from Outer Space. You had all of these classic 1950s and 60s and 70s films that weren't kaiju based, they were sci-fi based. They were based on alien invasions. And because, like I said before, Toho were trying to, like every studio, there will always be a studio, if they bring out a film that's a success, another studio will try to make a similar film to capture the success of that one. That's just the way it is. Like you see, Marvel's got Marvel, Warner Brothers has got DC. So superhero movies versus each other, it's happening all the time.
Someone's trying to basically capitalize on their own terms from copying someone else because that's a tradition.
Well, if say for example, like, if a movie's a smash hit, makes millions of dollars, a studio goes, right, we need a film like that one, but not that one, but like that one to make us $1 million.
Yes, because
that's how Hollywood works, unfortunately. And as you know, Hollywood's been nothing but churning out a load of shit.
Well, recently, yes, that's the game right now because that's all they have is shit. pure shit, and it's still giving us shit.
The only original film this year, which I think we've both seen, we've both reviewed and both agreed is probably the best film of the year, Sinners, because it was fresh, different.
Yes. It was something more in tune with giving us characters on a different, or taking a certain genre and putting a new twist on it. And I think like that's what you should do for a film. Give it a new twist and see how people react to it.
Yeah, and what will happen next year or in 2027? Another studio will bring out a film and try to capture on the success of Sinners and bring their version, or a similar film like Sinners.
I won't be surprised.
It's a smash hit, it's original, it's different. So another studio is going to try and capture on that success.
Exactly. I mean, because it's going to happen. I mean, we cannot escape from, you know, I'm not going to say plagiarism. I mean, not plagiarism. Plagiarism. I'm saying plagiarism, but I mean, you think about it.
I don't know what's on your mind, but
right. What am I saying? No, plagiarism. You know, I mean, and that's always the case with that. You know, but
Lord of the Rings was successful. We got Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Did it cut? Yeah, it did actually. Yeah. Now you think about it, the book came out around the time that the films came out, and yeah, that's because it's based on a book.
Yeah. So someone read the book of Lord of the Rings, said, let's turn it into the film. New Line made it, Peter Jackson made it, the films were successful. George Martin brought out Game of Thrones. Someone seen the books, went, right, we've seen the success of Lord of the Rings, let's turn the Game of Thrones into the books into a series. Let's see if we can capture the audience of Lord of the Rings. And that worked.
Yeah, and it blew up. I mean, he didn't think it would do that well, because when I first heard about it, it's like, okay, this seems like kind of Lord of the Rings-esque, but it went there, you know, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, but it did work. So it's like, and someone said, if you ever watch it, you got to start from the beginning to go through the series, because you're going to get lost if you just come into it, you know, blindly like that. But knowing all that, this film is one of those films that it's very unique in terms of where it's going. And like so many films that are on a scale like this, with the big budget and, you know, big scope and everything, it starts out in a place where you wouldn't think it would start out. And before I even kind of give a synopsis or the storyline on it, let me just give the so-called original, because see, it's called the Mysterians, but it's actually called Earth Defense Force in Japanese, you know.
Okay.
Now, and if you think about it, it makes sense, because before we were just dealing with, you know, regular so-called, you know, defense force, which is grounded, but now we're taking it to a new level because we got aliens to deal with.
Yeah, I will say, if you think of the overall plot, that would have been a better title.
Well,
because it deals with scientists, it deals with the government, and it deals with the military all working together to try and stop this alien plot. So to call it, you know, that title, I think would have been a better fit. I think, of course, calling it the Mysterians, it sounds sci-fi. Yeah. It sounds like, for that era, it would gravitate more to the audience they're trying to pull in.
And that's probably what, and you got to remember, you know, when it comes to marketing and to whatever, you know, that's something I've realized too about films that are foreign, that come from overseas and be brought over here, or the same way go over domestically and goes over there. They always change the title to kind of fit the narrative of what they're watching. You know, I mean, I can't really know what the name of like Star Wars was named over in certain countries, but I know some of it's different. It is different, some of it. But I know someone here in America thought to themselves, like, let's change it to a way where it sounds more ominous, and it's, as you say, sounds science fiction-y, you know. So, and that's the name they chose, you know. But honestly, yeah, I mean, if they just stuck with Earth Defense Force, I don't see why that would have been a bad choice. You know, I mean, it's like, stick with that one. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Maybe they thought it sounds too military, so they might have thought, well, it sounds more like a war film.
Well, we got to remember this, in a sense, is kind of a war film because you see all the military might that's in this particular piece. I mean, this, like I say, and you got to realize this has real military people involved in the scenes that you see there filmed together, and everything. So it's a lot of that there, and I appreciate Mr. Honda's dedication to say put realism into something that's imaginary and everything. And I think directors like him really take it to the step of putting those kind of performances in something that they know that's unreal, but give it that more tangible feeling that, oh, this could be real. This could actually happen. Not a lot of directors do that.
Yeah, great.
Yes, but like I say, this film was released in '57, and it stars a bunch of. When I say a bunch of, I mean it's a big cast, but the main cast are the cast of here, and I just want to focus on this for a second. The cast of that's the main cast here of the Mysterians. The first one here is, we know, Kinji Sahara, who's playing Josie. He's a scientist, like so many other scientists in here. And to his left is, well, to his right, I might as well say, that's Momoko Kochi.
Yeah, Momoko Kochi.
Momoko Kochi, who we can say we've seen her previously in another film, which made her famous, which was called Gojira. And next to her is
a Godzilla legend.
Yeah, another
he's
guy.
Well known to Toho. He's a well known to the world of Toho and that genre of cinema.
I'll say his last name because I'm probably going to butcher his first name. Mr. Harata, who plays Roichi. He's a
Akihiko Harata.
Okay, well, thank you. It's good that you're pronouncing these names better.
Isn't it funny, when I'm sober, I can't pronounce a damn thing, but when a couple of glasses of wine, I know all the language.
Well, I think because your tongue is very loose. That's probably why. It's able to.
That's a conversation for another time, Wally.
Okay. And we will discuss that on another level. I mean, I'm sure anyone watching will know. But to his left is to his right is Yumi Sarakawa. I'm thinking I'm saying that right. And she plays Etsuko. I'm sorry. Yeah. Now let's just discuss these four characters. Before we go to the next one that's below him. In the beginning of this film, we're at a festival, and it's a traditional Obon festival. And that's one thing that I love about this beginning of this film is that they show they're doing traditional Japanese culture.
They're showing the culture. I was going to say they're showing the culture. They're showing like a traditional Japanese ceremony that generally happens. It's a celebration, and it's great because for worldwide audiences, you're getting to have a real feel and taste of the Japanese culture.
Right. And I like that, I like to see doing that. Well, say, okay, it's a Japanese, or put like this, it's any kind of film, it's any kind of film that's been produced by this country, but we're showing a film being done by this country. It's like, well, let's kind of put in, our culture, our certain things that we like to do, certain festival, whatever, and you see this with them dancing, singing, whatever, and I think that's beautifully done here. But what is amazing about this particular moment is that we're introduced to these four people, and in like maybe less than 4 minutes, I say less than 2 minutes, we get this gist of who these people are. We are introduced to was I say Sakura? Make sure Rochi. We're introduced to him. We see him standing there smoking, but then we see that not Ethico, but is it Ethico? No, Hiroko. We see how she's coming with the other two walking behind him, and you see that's one thing about the acting of her is that you see something on her face. it's genuinely, you know, happy, but then it's kind of the face kind of changes, like okay, you know, it's like it's something there, you know. But then we see that you know, Josie and Etsuko, you know, they're standing there, you know, they're coming in there, you know, they say that they dance and sing all night and everything and all that. So Josie tells Josie tells trying Roshi tells him, you like, you know, dance with the, you know, Hirako, because you know you mean they're supposed to be engaged. But when he says that, she immediately shifts to turns to him, and he just walks away. And when he walks away, his you know, Etsuko comes around and she says, brother. You know, it's like, oh wow, we see that these people have a thing going on. I mean, when I say a thing going on, they have a kind of connection.
Disagreement.
Yeah, well, not just a disagreement, but a connection with one another. But we don't really know what. But as the story goes, we find out that Roshi and Hirako were supposed to be married or engaged to be married, but he broke it off. We don't know why. So it's that moment where we see that amazing chemistry between the acting of these characters.
And they've already built up, within the first 4 minutes, a relationship between characters.
Right. And that's what I like about that.
Yeah, they've built up the relationship between characters. They've built up, you know, the situation, the chemistry between the actors and the characters. And yet immediately within the first 4 minutes, drawn into these leading actors. And you know, like, you want to follow it through with these characters.
Yes, because it's like you if they don't, I put like this: if you don't get like maybe a sense of some chemistry amongst some the actors who do these things, and they don't deliver, it's like I'm not invested in that. You get invested with them right away, and it works. And when that happens, you know, you realize like, okay, well, something about him is not jarring. You know, it's not jarring. It's like, I broke it off for a reason. I'm not going to explain why. Then this is where all hell breaks loose, where where they're at, because they're near Mount Fuji. Something's burning in the distance. You know, we don't know what's going on. He goes to investigate. You know, time lapse. You know, we feel like, well, maybe he's dead. You know, we don't really know. This is where some things start happening, start building up. There's been a cave-in where the village was. It caves in. It's destroyed. It's gone. It was
there's fire. Yeah, there's like fires, and then the brother goes to investigate, and he kind of disappears in the confusion.
Right.
Like, you see, there's earthquakes, and then there's all this like stuff starting to happen, and it's happening out of the blue that people just don't know what's going on.
Right. And it's kind of now as the story goes, Mysterians, it's a mystery. We don't know what's happening here. So, and they said that it was radioactive at the time, but now it's pretty much dead. You know, it's inert. So we don't know what's going on. So while the doctor Josie is investigating, you know, of the surroundings, we get introduced, as we mentioned before, Mr. Magora, who comes out of nowhere, coming out of the side of the mountain, and we like, okay, that's an interesting interest for a kaiju. You know, we've seen different interests for kaijus before, but I mean, that's a different take, just coming out the side of a mountain. Nothing like Buckaroo Banzai zipping through a mountain. You know, there's some
Yeah, but, it's like I think a similar kaiju that did come out of the mountain. We actually did the review last week. Yongari came out of the side of the mountain.
That's right. He did. Yes, that's true. He did. You know.
So, but that film came out later, so maybe Mogira's appearance inspired how they introduced with the Yongari.
And now that you say that, that was because that film came out in 1967. This one came out in 1957. So that's a 10-year gap there. So that's a good point.
So Mogira did something good.
Yes, exactly. So
before he fell off the fucking bridge.
Yeah. Before he came off the bridge and pretty much sacrificed himself from doing what he's doing. But quick note here. This is just some behind the scenes of that moment when he comes into view, and here on the right here we see Mr. Famous, suit actor Haru Nakajima.
Yeah.
He's just let's be honest, the man was rigorous in doing the stuff that he had to do. I mean, you can look at this costume and tell that it was not comfortable. It was not comfortable. No stretch of the imagination. And this film here, this sequence here, where he kicks the Jeep, you see, he just filmed with just the bottom part because it's like, I'm not gonna just have this whole thing on just to do this.
You probably wouldn't have been able to see what he was doing if he had the top off on.
Yeah, with that too, and they're supposed to have something to see out of these costumes when they do it, but it's like, come on. I mean, some of that stuff is so hard to do. I'm sorry, it just is. But in the midst of all this, as you mentioned before, he gets on the bridge and he does get blown up. But before that happens, Roshi and Ekiko, they see some flying saucers.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is he mentions that, Roshi had mentioned something about this in his some notes that he wrote to give to his superior. But he's like, okay, that's just some, just writing. He's writing, So when he does that, when he sees the flying saucer, he's like, oh shit, could he be right?
Did you also, he has another thing, did you notice that this flying saucers look similar to the flying saucers you see in Terror Mechagodzilla?
Yes, actually I did. It's kind of funny you mentioned that because the flying saucers that was in this film would be reused 2 years later in Battle in Outer Space. But they did some alteration. But yes, it does look similar to those spaceships in Terra Mechagodzilla. Yes, that's one thing about Toho that is very efficient with what they did, is that they reuse certain costumes, certain props or whatever, even miniatures, to do other future films. And yeah, it wouldn't be unheard of if that was actually the ones, but they're shaped differently, but they're not the actual ones from this film. But they do look like similar to those in this film. But yeah, I did actually notice that. It's funny you mentioned that. And in fact, I'll go even further. If you ever watch a film called Invasion of the what's it called? Invasion of the Neptune Men. That's what I'm trying to say. Invasion of the Neptune Men. The spaceships in there, I swear, look similar to the ones in this film, which is crazy. Right. And it's from a different studio. Have you ever seen the film? That's what I'm saying. So, but
I don't think I've seen that. No.
What happened?
I haven't seen that film either.
Okay, well, hey, it's another
Invasion of the Neptune Men.
Yes.
So you're bringing all these different films I ain't seen, so you know what that means. We're gonna have to fucking cover them on your channel.
Well, it's basically sci-fi. It doesn't have no kaiju whatsoever, but it has some great destruction moments in there. But I'll let you see it on your own time. But basically, yes, like I say, they reuse props, but sometimes they kind of redesign them for future projects. Yeah. But no, get back to the story though. I mean, we find out that he's seen this, and like you say, the Megara gets taken out in the most. I mean, because look, during the time he's striking up terror across the countryside by blowing up, tanks, different things, and this is just some behind the scenes of that moment where he gets towards the bridge and they blow it up and whatever. And
I just found it strange how it's a sci-fi movie. These are meant to be a technically advanced race, which they brag about later on in the movie, how their science is advanced more advanced than ours. But you can't fucking build a robot that can survive falling off a bridge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's well. Remember that one thing that we learned this year? A candy wrapper can be your worst enemy.
Like, imagine if they made this film now and you're seeing this, it would be the candy wrapper scene all over again.
I mean, because that's the thing. It's like a candy wrapper took out this particular multi-billion-dollar advanced technological. Really? Yeah, that's the thing, and we have to remind ourselves that maybe that's the thing. That's the Achilles heel of certain technologies. The littlest thing, and I guess the littlest thing for this particular robot was dynamite, or just getting blown up off a bridge to some degree. Crazy as that sounds,
What a load of bollocks.
Look, let's be honest. I mean, we can never say that it couldn't happen in another picture, which it will. It will happen again, But no, it's crazy how technology is supposed to be so advanced, as you mentioned, and yet here's something that happens that gets taken out by the simplest thing that's kind of like major to us, but to them it seemed like, how could this been taken out? But it does. So
yeah.
But we push on, and we discover that through trial and error, Josie, discovers that this is an element that the thing is made out of an element, and that's another thing. They're able to get pieces of this thing to show that there's elements of it that's not periodically on the chart of Earth, never been made. So they go to the place where him and some other scientists go to, where all these occurrences or certain things are taking place. And this is where we're introduced to the dome, as you mentioned, rising up out of the ground, which I have to say is a beautiful moment. Rising up, and the person says on a loudspeaker, like I say, technology. We won't try to get that, understand why. Says that we want the 5 following people to come in and negotiate.
Yes.
So that's weird how they're negotiating, but when they get to the inside and start talking, they have already done the things that they asked for.
Yes. That's what I mean. The like saying, right, we want to negotiate, but it's basically a ploy. Basically it's an invasion. Mm-hmm. And it's a ploy to say, right, if you basically, it's a ploy, but it's also not just a ploy, it's a way of them to stall time so they can continue to advance the invasion. So this whole point reminds me of, like, say, Invasions of the Astro Monsters, where the people from Planet X are saying, right, we need Godzilla, we need Rodan, can you bring them to our planet so we then can use them to defeat King Ghidorah to save our planet? But they had already been on the Earth prior to that event happening. They were already under the oceans in the spaceships. They were already plotting things in advance. That whole thing of having Godzilla and Rodan sent to the planet was just a ploy to install, install, the thingy, the time, to install time. Because let's face it, they could have easily took over Rodan and Godzilla at any time.
Yeah, it's like why the so-called song and dance routine?
Yeah, and basically during this meeting they say, right, there's 2 things what we want: this little bit of land, because the radiation, because of the fallout of the destruction of our planet, it's affected with DNA. We need to introduce, our children are being born with deformities. Yes. So we want to, be able to have permission to marry your women. They've already, though, taken 3 of the 5 original women that they had their eyes on.
I'm like,
so they've already done it.
Yes.
And then they talk about the land, but then they've already took over some land because that domes are risen out of the ground.
Yeah.
So they're saying they want to ask for permission, but they're technically just doing it anyway.
Yes. And the person that's doing it is the Mysterian, commander, basically. And he's played by Mr. Make sure I'm getting his name right. Where is his name here? No, that's not him. Where's his name?
Let's have a look. Let's have a look because I'm looking as well.
Okay.
Amanda Tsukamoto.
Yes, Yoshi. Yoshi. Yes, Yoshi. That's him.
Oshiro Kosuji.
Yes, him. He's my God, boy. I'm so bad at names, but
Yoshiro Kosuji.
But he is the Mysterian commander, and I must say, for him to be basically in a dome-like helmet, and you can't see no facial expressions whatsoever when he's talking.
I have to be honest, Walter. Mm-hmm. Them fucking helmets. They look like they're from Spaceballs. I'm sorry.
God, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. That's true. They do look like.
I'm not being funny. I just couldn't take them serious.
Oh my God! You know what? No. Seriously though, now you mention that's so true because I never thought about that.
Look at that helmet. It looks like a Halloween costume.
Yes, I mean because, well, let's see. I guess they were thinking like it's
like they've got the helmet on, right? They've got that big white thing that looks like a beak, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got the visor bit. They look like discounted Power Rangers with fucking Dracula clothes on them.
I could see that though.
I don't understand. I've never understood that bit. They invite the scientists into the dome, and they give them these capes, and there's this scene where there's 3 or 4 of them walking in the line, and they look like they're auditioning for a new Dracula movie.
Yeah, that's. I had the second you said Spaceballs.
Look at him, look at the facial expression on him on the end.
Yes,
in the cloak.
He's just like,
I want to drink your blood.
I hadn't even thought about that. But seriously, when you said Spaceballs, I was kind of like, holy shit, that's right. This does look like Spaceballs. I didn't think about that. I mean, I wonder, now you say that, I wonder if that's what inspired Mel Brooks. What the fuck am I saying? Mel Brooks to make the helmets for Spaceballs. That's actually, yeah. That'd be too fun. That'd be too on the nose if that was this inspiration. That's what they got that from. That's crazy. I forgot about that. Oh my Lord, I'm okay. Okay, get back to the seriousness of it. But yes, you you realize the actor is doing his best to perform without facial expression. He did a little bit better job in Invasion of Astromar when he was playing the Exilian commander. Mm-hmm. But you can see his mouth moving, so that's a different story.
But here, even that, he's more terrifying.
When you can see, yeah, because you just see that, and you see, yeah,
and he's more robotic.
In a way, because he is more machine than man in Astromar. Mm-hmm. They're more computerized. Isn't
it funny that they picked the same actor that played the commander of 2 alien invaders?
Well, the thing about this is, and here's a little anecdote that you may not know about the actor who's playing him. He believes in aliens. He even said that when he saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, he says, like, I feel that aliens are real. I feel that he was more inspired by that.
I believe we cannot be the only beings in the galaxy.
Yes.
I do think there is something out there, but I just think at the minute there's too far a distance for it to meet. But one day, if we don't blow ourselves the fuck up, the human race, we'll get to meet them one day. That's my belief.
Yeah.
But no one else will be like the people that freaking Mysterion and blow ourselves up. No, now I fucking knocked the way the world's going.
No, and see, well, in here, I've actually talked to someone myself who said we kind of theorized that. Well, I don't know if they even want to come to this planet anyway because we're too fucking stupid. We're too ingrained with stupidity. So why would we come to a planet that is so damn dumb that we want to even talk to y'all? You know, but I don't know. I mean, we might just do that, just blow ourselves up. You never know. It's so many things that come into play, but yeah, he believed in aliens and everything. So him playing an alien in both this one and an Astro Monster, yeah, I mean, he wanted to play him too. He wanted to play because it's like this is not his first acting gig, but knowing that he got a chance to play something where you don't see his face, it's like kind of a big stress. But he made it happen though, you know. So it's actually a pretty good strategy for him because everyone remembers him, even though he's in the Spaceball shaped hat, you know.
Yeah, but you see, because obviously there's the dubbing, because you can watch this with if you were to watch this and say Invasion of the Astro Monsters and the Mysterians with not the dubbing but with the subtitles, you would probably know it's him because of the voice.
Right.
But the fact that I watched, because I've seen Invasion of the Astro Monsters in both dub and sub. I only ever watched this though with the English dubbing because I could only find it with English dubbing.
Yeah.
So unless you had told me that was the same actor, I wouldn't have known.
Oh. And see, here's the thing. This is what's so good about this film, which I appreciate, is that they took the time to do the sound mixing on this because when you hear him speaking, it's got a kind of a guttural kind of reverberation in it. When he speaks, you can hear some kind of echo or something that's chanting in the back as he's speaking. It's almost like some guttural response in his vocal cords. So,
and did they do that in the subtitled version?
Let me see. Did they? No, they didn't. They didn't.
All right.
No, they didn't do that. No, I don't think they look. That's one thing about American cuts or just American dubbing. You know, they feel like we don't need to put that much emphasis on this because it's like if you can understand what they're saying, that's enough. But if you don't put the time to hear what they put in the original cut, the original vocal, then it's like, you know. But hey, fortunately for me, I saw this in its original. You know,
see, like I say, I only had the opportunity to watch it on Internet Archive, and I watched it in English dub. But to say that, the English dub I thought was pretty good compared to some of the, the earlier dubs that we've had. Like, as you know, you can have a right laugh with some of the earlier Godzilla or Kaiju films with the English dubbing. I thought they did a pretty damn good job with the English dubbing on this because it's taken more serious. They give it a more serious tone with the dubbing.
I think that was the whole point because this is supposed to be not because this is before we get into the 60s where it's more fun, more, whatever, but no, this
is before the fucking kids got involved.
That's it. There you go. See, when kids start to liking this stuff, that's when they start to lighten up and make it more lighthearted. But which is nothing wrong with that, but don't make it too lighthearted where it's like, okay, I don't want to see this. If kids want to watch this, fine. But I'm an adult. I want to see
this is before Gamera made kaiju's cuddly and fun and for children.
And you got to remember that's what the Yoguri was. It was more of a kids film anyway, even though there was some kind of some kind of gurish, kind of violence in there, but it's still thrown towards kids. So, but hey, that's the stretch of how movies are done, and we got to appeal to certain masses. And this film was not thrown for kids; it was more adult. Although you could take your kids and watch this, but that's not where it was going for. But no, the seriousness of this tone, this picture is that. Okay, we find out the Mysterians' goal, but unfortunately, we realize okay, they've already done the deed. So we realize that the military is going to go and strike these people, strike them down with great vengeance and furious anger, as Homeboy would say. And
it's because the aliens are basically saying, right, we want your permission, we want you to work with us, but you've already done it. So the military realize that it's like what I said, they're just stolen for time. It's an excuse to ask for permission when they've already taken, for example, 2 women out of the 5 that they want. They've already got the dome in the middle of the ground that's come out of the ground. They've already attacked them by a robot. They're very hypocritical as well, because they say we're here for peace, we don't want conflict. So why did you release a robot that attacked the town? Why did you cause an earthquake? You're saying things and it's not believable. You're being very hypocritical in terms of what you're saying. You're saying you want peace, you want, to work with the Earth government, but then you've already basically started your invasion. And at this point, the United Nations get together and they're like, guess what? We can't stall anymore. Let's just attack them and see what we can do. Yeah. And as you know, when they attack the dome, it doesn't go their way.
Yeah, because the dome is what now. See, this is where the technology for them actually works. This is almost a kind of and I can't say it's a shielding of it. It's just that the alloy of the dome is. You just see it just bounces off. I mean, that's so much bounce. You see the explosions hit, but it's like nothing does any damage to them. It's just like, okay, so what? It's like flying a swag.
This is where you're starting to see the advancement in their technology and how advanced they are as a race. Yes. Because human like the guns and the tank fire is not even touching the sides.
Yes.
But yet you could build a robot that fucking got destroyed falling off a bridge.
And we see how very, very powerful their their the defenses are, because they blow up the planes, they melt the armament that the ground units are, and it's just in that one scene. I gotta say, it's kind of funny, but it's effective when the tank comes towards the dome and it gets sucked into the ground, and we see that, and it's all done in miniature, where that soldier jumps out of the tank, but he gets sucked down into it. I'm just like, he's screaming like, dude, you're gone. You did goodbye. It's like, it's very effective, But
there is some amazing like special effects for its time work in this film.
Yeah.
Like you see that particular, I like the scene, like you see, where they're attacking the dome, and you can tell there's where they would have a screen behind showing like a road, and you'd be sitting in a car. The car would be on a conveyor belt, so they had like the screen behind where you could see the road or something, or the background of the grassland moving, and then he'd be sitting piloting the tank, and it looked like he was, but then it was close up, so give you that feel that he was really in that environment.
Yeah, because
so I like them kind of shots in this film.
Well, I see that, and here's the thing, though. I mean, the effects in this film, like I say, E.G. Subaraya had, did the effects for previous films before this. I feel that, not feel, but I was told that this film actually won a Japanese special effects award, which is equivalent to an Oscar back during the day, which no surprise, because the effects in here are very well done, for the time. So. But no, when all said and done, they the military gets their ass handed to them pretty much, and they ask for outside help, which is the United Nations and all that stuff. And we're introduced to people who are part of this group, which is the 2 actors who are well known in well known in the Tokusatsu arena. This is Harold Conway, who's playing Dr. the Garza, and to his right is George Furness playing Dr. Sullivan. Now, Mr. Conway, you probably have seen him in previous and after films in Toho, even films in general in Japan. He was very.
I do recognize his face.
Yes, if you ever see, like I say, he's been in. I think he was in. In fact, he was in Battle in Outer Space 2 years later in some other films. Now, Mister Furnace, I don't know if I've seen him in anything else. I think this is the only film I've seen him in, Japanese wise. But no, Mr. Conway, he's been in many films, this and after, and so he's, like I say, he's well known in the field of science, Japanese science fiction for sure. But these gentlemen are called, these two scientists are called in to kind of discuss a strategy to say what needs to be done in terms of defeating the Mysterians. And there's a moment where, and we see it earlier, where Roshi, tells Josie that you're a scientist, tell the military to not attack the Mysterians, just don't do it. They just want certain things, even though they've already taken some women and already gathered the land that they have, So it's kind of funny. He talks to him through television, which is kind of weird that the technology we use now that was done then, that's just the pretend. We're actually doing now, where we actually kind of, in a way, talk through televisions to a degree. So he talks to them. Roshi talks to the scientists, tell them what needs to be done in terms of like coming to a kind of comprehensive, outcome, and saying like, let's just do this and make it seem like, we can come to a kind of an agreement. The thing about it is that, okay, these guys have already done this. They've already,
it's like I say, that everything he's saying to them, he's basically stalling for time.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to like make excuses and say, right, we need to do this, but it's already basically took place.
Yes.
The invasion's already well under its way.
And the weird thing is about him saying this, that he's believing what the Mysterians are saying. He's believing that they're, pretty much sincere about what they're doing and what they're saying. Because he tells the scientists that, they're using their science to kind of so-called better themselves, mm-hmm. and use it to, advance themselves in a better way. And as we as humans, we should try to not go down the road that they're going in terms of let themselves get destroyed. But as you mentioned, they've already done it. So the scientists pretty much says, we have no choice but to attack. So they pretty much attack them once again, and they employ certain things like, and not just some behind the scenes, but to the far right, this big blimp looking thing, it's one of those VTOLs that they use. They have two of them in the at first, but they're pretty big.
One thing you've got to appreciate is when you're watching the actual film, you don't realize the size of the miniatures or the props, and then when you actually see the people next to the props or the miniatures or the suitmation or any that, the sheer size and scale just to pull off the effects that they would do in these films, I don't think people appreciate. It's a dying art form. I think the only other recent film I've seen where they've put it into use is The Lord of the Rings.
Yes, because those were some very big bigatures, as someone would call them.
Yeah.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, like the only other time you'll see probably them use bigatures or miniatures is if with it still going, probably things like the Power Ranger series and things of that nature where they're on I know they do a lot of location stuff, but when they've got like the men in the suits and the fighting in a city, and if they destroy a building, it'll all be on like a bigature set, and that's probably the only time you'll still get it where it's being appreciated.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, you think because you have technologies like today, which is all CG, it's like it's nothing wrong with that, but kind of blend the techniques together. You get a better effect, I feel. But I feel, as you said, it's a dying art, and it's unfortunate that pretty much everything is almost CG. And I feel like when you go see Badlands, you tell me how you feel about the effects in there, because to me the effects in there are pretty well done. Some of it's, you know, traditional effects, but the rest is pretty much CG. But it's done. It's very good CG. But you have to watch it. Talk about, but you get that. But like you say, we're introduced to these VTOLs. They're big monsters. You know, they try to use them to try to destroy the dome. Doesn't succeed, and in that midst of that, this happens where the dome pretty much shoots and blows up the damn one of the VTOLs. And I gotta say, and you say, try to imagine, it's I'm not sure how big the things are in the movie, but they're pretty big. There's like maybe 200, 300 feet long, something like that. And, you know, they're pretty big. But to see how this gets destroyed just like that by them shows right there that, like, y'all can't handle us. We're top dogs on this. So what are you trying to do? We're showing you our power. We're showing that we got the bigger sticks. What you going to do next? But this shows the tenacity of Earth.
It's basically the Mysteries showing off their dick size.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what it is. I mean, who's got the bigger dick? Well, we do, but not for long. You know, and it's crazy how this comes to it. All this is coming down to nothing more than a show of like power and will. But I don't think that the Mysterians realize how much the Earthlings, are willing to say, we're not going to be backed in a corner. And this is why, you know, that, you know, this is why they're and not so much ambition, but their overconfidence gets displayed when in the end, you know, they're going to be pretty much defeated. So they, the humans, they decide that, okay, we're going to deploy some different kind of strategy, which is these things, which are called megalite fraps. I think that's what they call. I mean, they're just, I'm not sure how you call
basically like the taser machines that you see later on in the Godzilla series.
Yes, but these things are huge.
These things are huge, but like what I like about how they've got like these little tanks on each of the legs.
Yes.
And like the tanks are basically moving them closer to the dome to take it on, because the scientists realize that they can't get into the dome, they can't attack the dome, but if they use a device that I think overheats the dome, it'll weaken the dome. Right. So how do you do that? By using these electrical devices.
These kind of dishes. And the sad part about this is, and this shows how, as again, their tenacity to stand up against the opposing threat. These things only last for about, the power source of them lasts only about 75 minutes. So they're going to use the best way they can use with these 75 minutes to try to do their best to distract them, because they're at the same time getting the what I mentioned before, the VTL on one of the ships there with a laser that can kind of not so much crack open the dome, but kind of just weaken it even more.
Yes. You know?
So it makes sense. So it's as I say, they're using the time to kind of delay them from trying to defeat them, because at the same time this is going on, what happens next is that they're saying that, okay, since y'all are doing all this, we're going to take not just women, more women, we're going to take up like another percentage of land, you know, 75 miles worth. I'm like, y'all say y'all just wanted 2. Now you're going to up the ante here? It's like,
and when they do kidnap the women, there's not much of a fight. So literally, he literally comes, you see the spaceship in the sky. He drops down. He literally walks into the house. She looks at him and she just goes,
"That's okay." Okay. Oh my God, this is the moment here that I really say I had to kind of do a so-called a suspension of disbelief. You mean to tell me you're not going to scream your head off when you see somebody like that come into your room, invading your room, and
what thing is me, the actress who gets kidnapped, where she's like, remember when she first seen Godzilla?
Yes, she was like,
the look of terror on her face in just the sheer performance, like.
So I guess here when a guy,
but yeah, there's none of that kind of performance. And this is kind of what makes. These are me negatives. It's like some of it's unbelievable. Like it's like, so known she's a well-known actress within the world of Toho.
right?
You put off that amazing performance. Like everybody, if you talk about Godzilla 1954, whenever they show like a clip of it on any like documentary or television, they'll always show the scene of him coming over the hill, his head, and her screaming at the prop. Iconic scene. Mm-hmm. So she's went from that to just going.
Just like it's like she gives no. I mean, the character. I mean, either the actress or the character she's playing. It's just like not giving.
I don't blame her. I blame the direction of the character because she's just following the script.
Right.
Basically, an actor is like the vessel to putting on to tell the story and to put on the performance to tell the director's vision.
Well, you got to remember now. Here's this is what this is the thing. They follow the directing of they follow the script. They follow the direction of the director. But that's the thing that certain actors, performers should do is like follow what the director's saying, but put your own emphasis on how this character should respond to this. You know, because to me personally, when he comes in and just grabs her, she just like goes limp, just like that. I'm just like put up some sense of force here, you know.
When it comes to Hishiro Honda, who was the godfather of Japanese sci-fi, in my opinion.
Yes,
he is like, for me, back in the day, he was their Steven Spielberg.
Yes,
he was their go-to man director. Now, even Steven Spielberg will have an off day on a film he produces or directs, even though most of his films are just masterpieces. Even in his mind, he must have the one film where he started working on and he's like, Jesus Christ, it's not what I wanted it to be. Or the fact in Japan and Toho, Ishiro Honda, he was probably like, right, I've done so many Godzilla movies, I want to make a sci-fi film, but this isn't really the direction I want. Or Toho will have put pressure on him to come up with something and he's never really fully, had a good deal of input. He's just been hired as the director and he's like, right, here's the script, there's the story. Honda, put that together and direct it. And he's like, okay, I'll do it.
And it's kind of funny you bring that up. And I had to mention this about Mr. Honda because this is something that I was told by another person. And it's kind of sad that it's just how it was for him, because in Hollywood, as you mentioned, he was kind of still the Spielberg of that time, but unfortunately he didn't have the Spielberg clout that Spielberg has. Mm-hmm. See, he was pigeonholed into doing these kind of films because not just because he was good at it, but if that was the ones that was making the money and what he was good at, it's like that's the only films he was going to be allowed to do. Where Spielberg, he could do anything, where it be horror, comedy, sci-fi, drama, whatever it might be.
I think with Steven Spielberg, though, any film he works, he does put 110%
right
into it. But he also owns his own production company, so he produces and produces the movies, and then he signed the distributor deal with, say, Universal, however, and they'll, the fact that Steven Spielberg's so lucky as a director that every film he's basically made money.
Yeah.
And you've seen lots of other directors. So, for example, I'm going to talk about Paul Anderson, who did Event Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Did Event Horizon, cult classic. Did Mortal Kombat, decent, cult classic as well. But if you look at his track record since then, every film he's had kind of been a flop. And you see a lot of critics say, why is this man still being allowed to make movies in Hollywood? He gets a lot of flack. But he also gets a flack because his wife, Mila Jovovich, is the only star he ever puts in his films. A bit like Rob Zombie, he only has his wife. So, they don't have the clout, like you say, that a Steven Spielberg has. But don't forget the movie industry back like in the 1930s up to like a certain age. I don't know if it was the same in Japan. You had the studio system.
Yeah.
So, Marilyn Monroe would have been just signed to Universal. She couldn't have went and worked on Fox. You had all that stuff. So with him having such a reputation back in Japan, most of his work is, virtually all of his work, Honda, is with Toho. So Toho probably had him, strings attached to his back and were like, make this movie. Someone's wrote the story. Someone's wrote the script. He probably looked at it and you never know. There might have been a few projects where he's went, oh, this is shit, but I'll get my camera up and I'll do it because I've got no choice. But at the same time, you can tell the difference in his work. I don't know if you've noticed, you can see the films. There's a difference in the films where he puts 100% of his passion into it. And there's other film projects where he only put half of his passion into it and you can tell the difference. And I feel as if this is a film he put, despite the story, despite the effects, despite all the money that was put on it via Toho, I feel as if this is one of his films he only put half of himself into.
I can actually now, and it's kind of funny you say that because I can actually say that because I mean, look, a lot of the films that he's done that were strictly sci-fi, it's weird that is the case with some films or with some directors, that especially with him. And he didn't complain, he didn't complain that he was getting just these films, but at the same time he wanted to branch out. But yeah, you could actually tell some of the pictures that he did, you can see 100%, and then there's others like kind of phoning it in. It's kind of sad that it is like that, but I guess he had to do what he had to do, not because of work, but because of the passion of being a director and people seeing that he is somebody who is going to do the best he can with what he's been given. And it's sad, but like I say, it's kind of sad that he didn't get to branch out, not necessarily with studio, but with different types of stories that he could have been doing. Because before, and this is a funny thing, before the original Gojira, he had done a couple of films that were basically like little dramas, little so-called side satire.
He did The Blue Pearl, he did The Skin of the South, The Man Who Came to Port. He did a load of things before God, but then he became kind of, I guess, typecast as a sci-fi director. But it's because of it. But at the same time, it's probably because of the success of Godzilla. One thing, I guess, he was never out of work. Always had work. But, like, if you're under, like, I don't know if like, I mentioned the studio system in Hollywood, I don't know if he was signed to an exclusive contract.
It wasn't so much he was signed to a exclusive contract. The system in Japan was a whole lot different than it is in the States. They were under contract, and they were liable to that contract that they were under, and they had to do what they said assigned to, I mean, that was the thing. They had to be not so much forced, but more in tune with, like, this is what's being brought, this is what we need to do, you need to do it, and no questions asked. And people, and true enough, there were people who would fight, not him, who would fight the system in that time for different venues than just what they were being told to say, do either direct, write, or whatever, and it's like I say, the system in Japan was totally different than it is in America. America, you can do whatever you want to. Japan is like, no, you got to focus on just this.
And don't forget, after the war, there were certain restrictions on films that Japan could make. So obviously that would have played a part in what he was able to or not do. But going back to where I feel as if he shows his passion in certain films and other, one of your all-time favourite sci-fi films, Matango.
Yes.
That for me is a much darker, grittier film than this.
I feel
this for me has a lot of flaws.
Oh yeah, it does. Oh yeah, definitely.
Where Matango, I've not seen it, but I know your passion on it. Gorath and Battle. What was the other one? Battle of Outer Space. That for me is a stronger film than this.
Okay. And it's weird you say that, because that one definitely doesn't have any kaiju whatsoever, but it does have a strong feel of how nations come together and they fight off.
But it's the overall story. It doesn't have to have kaiju involved. It's basically him being just a fun, passionate director who, like you say, he was typecast as a certain director after Godzilla in 1954, and he basically kind of probably had a lot of pressure to stick with that genre.
Yes, it's kind of sad that he was. Because like I say, I know for myself, I always thought that, because I was looking at it from a Western viewpoint. I feel like, okay, if a person is good at this, they should stick with just that. But as it turns out, you can't spread your wings and to see how you can really do something. Because I know with like Robert Zemeckis, I think like, oh, he should just stick with certain comedy or sci-fi. But it's like you can't branch out. You can't improve what you can do. And like Spielberg, he definitely has been in every kind of genre since
he's a all-rounder.
Yeah,
Spielberg. You can do horror, you can do sci-fi, you can do comedy, you can do series, you can do drama.
See, and to me, and what's weird is Honda got respect, but he didn't get the respect that he deserves in terms of doing his own thing to where he can stretch his legs. Whereas Spielberg got the respect, but he earned the respect because he was able to do something that pretty much blew others out of the water. And it's
I'm hoping this year at G-Fest that we're going to in 2020. I hope, because I know for some reason there's been lots of delays for his documentary that was made.
Yes, I want to see.
But I'm hoping it's going to. Apparently, there's talks it's getting released soon. But I'm hoping that at least at G-Fest going to do a screening of it.
If it does, hopefully it's at the Pickwick. If that's the case,
and we'll be there.
Yes, I would love to see that because, like I say, Miss Linda Miller's in that documentary, so
yes,
it's good to see her in that.
Yes, she mentioned that when I did my interview, and she said she went to his. She goes, she liked doing the documentary, but she goes, when she's seen the edited cut, she went, I look twice my size. It's like they didn't edit this in a good light.
Nah. Well, remember, Miss Miller is like, she's a very petite woman. Everyone towers above her, so it's not like it's a big thing,
I don't think she's talking about her height.
Oh,
if you know what I mean.
Oh, never mind. I still think, she's a petite woman, so so.
Anyway, let's get back to the movie.
Yeah, I know. That's what I say. We get back to the synopsis of the movie because we're coming to the tail end of it, and it's an all-out war. Basically, we know that they got the so-called laser rays on one of the VTOLs, and it's shooting lasers and it's shooting them. But at the same time, Joji, he's managed to find a spot where it's a cave that leads inside of the dome So he's able to get in there and surprisingly does some damage to the inside of the dome, but not enough because go ahead. 1 minute, people. He just got to take care of his cat, and you got to do that. Certain things have to, but no, but I can tell the story here. The simple fact is he's doing some damage, blah blah blah, and at the same time, Roshi, comes in because see that moment, where he's shooting up, Joshi shooting up the place, and just as he's about to shoot the guards that catch him, it's like he runs out of power automatically. It's like, okay, plot armor, why not? So that moment where he throws the gun at them, and it's like, it's it's such a trope when you see this. He throws a gun, and he thinks he's going to make contact, and they just easily move out the way. They miss them. So they catch him, they corner him. They're about to do whatever, but Roshi gets him, tells the others, go someone do something, fix up whatever. So he takes them and he leads them out the dome because he was managed to get because he finally realizes that the Mysterians' ploy is not legit. It's not genuine. What their actions is not what he thought it was.
I'm not being funny, but even that part of the plot was like, wake the fuck up.
Well, yeah. No, you're right.
It's like when he was coming on the television screen, saying, well, they only want to do this. They're trying to help the planet. But, when he comes on the screen and he's like talking to the government, they've been here all this time, they want to do this, and then he then turns on them right at the end when he went missing, and then he was with them and now he's against them. It just made no sense to me.
Well, and I could say that's just I could say that's bad writing, or I could say that maybe that's the only way they can justify it. But yeah, that certain characters will not make sense in terms of, and I'm wondering if that was a mistake on the writing pace. Maybe I don't know.
Well, I would definitely say the writing, because how come when the earthquake happened, he disappeared? Then he's now working with them. He's basically saying, right, they want a bit of land, they want the women, that's all they want. Then when outside, when he's obviously not on the screen and you see all the events happening, they're taking over more land, they've already taken some women.
Yeah.
And then there's all the fighting. He's sitting there with these people, knowing what they're plotting, and then he's still making excuses for them. And then eventually there's one time he appears on the television and goes, there's nothing you can do, they're going to conquer the planet, basically. And then he suddenly has a change of heart and decides, I'm going to help you defeat them.
Yeah. Because that's...
and then you see there's that scene where he gets his sister and that he tells them to leave the cave when they're going to blow, and then you see the explosion happening inside, and you can just hear his voice in the background, and he's apparently walking further and further back into the cave. So he's walking towards the explosions. It's like, you got a death wish, motherfucker. It's like...
And it's kind of funny you say this, because it's like, does he even die in this picture? I don't really, because it's left ambiguous if he did or not. I mean, we see him.
Is he a fucking Terminator or something? Because he didn't get killed in the fucking fire, didn't get killed in the earthquake. Even Mogira probably didn't step on him.
Yeah.
Oh, and we've got to talk about, so Mogira falls off a fucking mountain.
Oh god. Okay.
Never heard of, never mentioned, never seen throughout the course of the movie.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, as them cannons are like attacking the dome, all of a sudden Mogira, another one, comes out of the ground to attack one of the cannons. There's no like build up, there's no like
no intensity, no kind of mystery.
There's no build up, there's no explanation. He's just there, and then he gets his head fucking blown off, and it's like,
I mean, he pops. I mean, you see, because it knocks the thing, it topples over, and he pops up, and then all of a sudden, slice. It's like, really? That's what I'm like, okay. That makes
Like,
no
you know
sense.
what it would have been scarier, but probably would have made it more like a kaiju film if there was an army of the Mogiras going around the planet destroying the world,
Oh
like War of the
God.
Worlds with the
Well,
tripods.
now see now I could have done that, but unfortunately, well, I don't know because the budget on this thing was pretty high. I mean, for Japanese, budget because budgets in Japan will a little less than what would be in America, but they could have pulled it off. I think they could have. I don't know. I don't know why they could have done that. Yeah. Why couldn't they have had like an army of those? Maybe
That
maybe
would
the
have been, I think,
technology.
scarier.
Well, far scarier. I mean, because you've actually you've seen not like this, but I've seen in anime. Well, you can do it in anime because I mean you got no restrictions. But I've seen in anime where they had like a lot of, like I say, different armies of this attacking a certain area or whatever, and it's like it's a lot of them. It's like you can do that, but I guess in film you have a restriction because you don't have the materials or necessarily the time to do it. I mean, and see, Japanese, they tend to film their films very fast, very efficiently, but I guess, like I say, maybe they didn't have the money to build the suits. I mean, they could have built like one or two of them, and like say had some like what you call puppets in the background to kind of represent an army of these. But I don't know. I never thought about that. Now you bring that up. I don't know why they didn't go that route. I guess
It just like the whole introducing the Mogira feels like they did it because they wanted to still capture the kaiju audience, but then the rest of the movie is simply just a proper, serious sci-fi invasion story.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden they reintroduce Mogira right at the end is like, I don't know. Look, I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, here I am, and it's like, bye, you're dead.
And I did read something which I'll read out.
It's kind of weird that he's walking here, but nope. There we go.
So I did read this. Where was it? I just had it. So
Kind of
the
fading
Mysterians is now considered among the most renowned and spectacular Honda Superaya films and has gained a cult following from robot and science fiction film fans. Japan Society called the film one of Japan's most celebrated sci-fi classics. The film inspired the famed garage rock band and called The Mysterians, and the 1968 made-for-television film Mars Needs Women. The film Robot Kaiju Mogira would later become a recurring character in the Toho Godzilla franchise, notably appearing in the 1988 video game Godzilla Monsters of Monsters, the 1994 film Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, the television series Godzilla Island, as well as numerous comics. So has its place. The Mysterian marks the first collaboration between Honda and special effects director Eiji Tsuburaya that was shot in anamorphic Toho scope, which the studio had recently introduced.
Yes. And this would be the thing that they would use for pretty much all their films until like the late 70s, where they stopped using Toho scope, or at least do films in anamorphic. They wouldn't. They would go back to the traditional, 1.85 ratio.
Here's some information on that from the director.
Okay.
Director Ishiro Honda described the film, saying it was larger in scale compared to Godzilla or Rodan and is aimed to be more of a true science fiction film. I would like to wipe away the Cold War era notion of East versus West. and convey a simple universal aspiration for peace, the coming together of all humankind as one to create a peaceful society. Reflecting on the period of developing the film, Honda stated that he respected scientists but feared the danger of science, that whoever controlled it could take over the entire Earth.
And that pretty much sums up, because see, Mr. Honda, you already know, I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard that he fought in World War II. Was it World War II? He fought there.
I knew he fought in the war. I couldn't remember which one though.
Yes, but he did not. No, it was World War II. I'm sorry, it was World War II, because he was born in 1911. But no, he did not. He was in the war, and I should correct myself. He was in the war, but he didn't really fight, because he was somebody who was against, that kind of situation. And he actually shot his gun. He actually, when he was trained for a gun and everything, but he actually shot his gun in the air to avoid shooting someone. So he was a pacifist of all kinds. He was somebody who felt that violence wasn't the answer. War wasn't the goal.
Sounds like the character, sounds like similar story to the movie. What's it called? That one with Andrew Garfield, Hacksaw Ridge.
Yes, Hacksaw Ridge, exactly. And he was a real character too. He was. That's the thing, I mean, he was somebody who's not going to go to that road and do that. He was not going to use violence to, examine a certain situation. And and it's funny. It's kind of funny because he done some dark films. Like I mentioned before, Matango was one of them, and there was gun violence in certain films that he's done. I mean, hell, there was moments in Destroy All Monsters where one guy gets shot in the head. I mean, it's kind of silly, but I mean, it's you still see that, but it's showing that he knows that it's not the right way, but he knows that's kind of the language that so many people use.
But you can't avoid it, because it's reality that these things happen. And if you're going to go into any sort of creativeness as an actor, as a director, a book, somebody who writes a book, music, as you know, with music, you have good songs that make you dance, you have songs that make you cry, songs that probably make you angry. It's art.
Yes.
And when it comes to art, you have to be able to tell real situations. Like movies like Schindler's List is heartbreaking.
Yes.
It's so dark, but it's for human race to know about history, and for us to move forward and to educate young people, you have to have dark as well as the light content. So Schindler's List was created. It's a very dark, depressing movie, but it's reality. It's human history, and you can't shy away from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line.
So with him doing films, he has to be able to, even though it's not him personally, he wouldn't like to fire a gun. You can't make a movie where maybe someone doesn't shoot a gun. That would probably, to make the story authentic and feel, believable, that have to fire a gun in one of his films, and he probably understood that.
And that's the thing, I mean, it's because I always thought that was a contradiction at the time, but I know, and I don't know how you feel about it, but I know that I can't just say that, would I do the same thing, or would I be in that moment and use that force to pretty much, discuss how I feel, and that's where you realize like how passionate it is, knowing that the darkness is there with the light within inside of you, with anyone. And you can't, like you say, you can't avoid that. How can you avoid that?
Yeah, I always say, unless you're in that situation, you'll not know the answer.
And see, again, the mystery of what's to come. We don't know.
It's like a what if scenario.
Mm-hmm.
What if you were in the war and you had to have a gun? Would you pull the trigger? Would you not? You won't know the answer unless you're there in the war. And you know, I don't believe in talking about like what ifs, because you could ask 50,000 questions, 50,000, answers. The only answer you're gonna have is if you're in the situation.
Right. And I think that's the thing right there, you know. I mean, and this is probably the reason why it's good knowing you don't know what the future holds. You know, no one should, because if you did, you can change it, but it's like you lose your so-called knowing of like there's no some kind of way of living. You know, I mean that's taking away the mystery of what the future holds. You know, you could probably do something way grander, but it's like it's taken away because you already know what's going to happen. That's not living, you know. And for human beings, and I said this before, and I'll keep saying it again, we are some very complicated species, you know. But again, you know, we're not all good, but we're not all bad either, you know. And I think that's what it rolls up into. This film is
so, as you know, as the film kind of concludes after the sacrifices and he walks back into the cave and the cave blows up, Bagheera has his head cut off.
Yeah.
There is quite an ominous ending where you see them jets chasing after the UFOs that leave the destroyed dome. But you see that scene where you've got the Mysterians space station above the Earth and the UFOs will return to it. And then the next scene is you've got human space stations hovering the Earth to protect it in case the Mysterians ever return. So it leaves it with a question mark if there was going to be a sequel.
Yes, and see, and this is kind of interesting you bring this up, because that satellite that was launched at the end of the film is supposed to be a representation of Sputnik, you know, the first rocket or whatever launched from Earth by Russians. You know, I mean, look, you could tell a diehard American, you know, me personally, I don't really care because I feel like it's ludicrous. I mean, why should things be owned by whoever? Who's first doesn't matter. The fact that it was a Russian who launched, the Russians launched in the space the first time, I mean, were the first to do it, should tell you that that's a problem we still face even today, you know, or at least back, even especially then, someone's got to be the top dog, whatever, you know. In America, always be trying to say we want to be the first, but the point of this moment was we see the satellite get launched. It's
like the whole COVID debate, who stopped COVID-19. Apparently, America created the first COVID jab, but it was actually Britain. We created it first. There's always going to be, you know, it's like that. It's like what was said. It's like people talking about the dick size. You know, look, we've got this, we've got that. We did this first. We did. It doesn't matter really. When a push comes to stuff, when it comes to protecting the earth or protecting humanity or finding a cure for this and that, it doesn't matter who creates it first. It's the fact that survival.
Yes, because we're trying to protect the human. We're trying to protect the human.
Whether you're a Russian, whether you're an American, or British or Japanese, we're all human beings, and it's about, you know,
humanity,
saving humanity and keeping the race safe and sound and all that crap.
Right.
So who gives a shit?
Well, like I say, back then they probably didn't see it that way, and nowadays probably still don't see it that way. But people like you, thinkers like us, we realize, like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care about that. Who did what? I just want to make sure that it's been done so it can help us, you know, to survive, be better versions of ourselves, you know. But the music at the end really sheds, if you listen to it, as you mentioned, it's kind of bittersweet because they done all this, but at the same time, it's still kind of sad because you realize, like, there will be, you know, it might be another one, but another invasion, but we don't know when. And interesting enough, this film, this is not so much a sequel. It's just a so-called, how you want to say it as a sequel. Films after this film, like Battle in Outer Space, Gorath, and War in Space, they are kind of technically so-called sequels to the Mysterians.
Surprise. Or spin-offs.
Or spin-offs, you know. It's kind of dealing with the same kind of situation. But
basically, the films that are in the similar tone that could be like unofficial spin-offs to the Mysterians.
Yes. And fortunately, you know, those films, you know, some of them are pretty well good. The other ones, a few are, like I mentioned, War in Space. It's all right because it came out in '77, only because it was at a time when Star Wars came out, you know, and it was a perfect time for a film like that to come out. But
yeah,
it varies how you want to take it, you know. But yeah, the film comes to a bittersweet end, and at the end of it, you know, you realize stuff like this, you know, this is the lobby card.
See, that pisses me off, because look at how badass Mugira is.
Right.
Look what
I mean, he was shooting lasers out of his eyes, but
you've got Captain Spaceballs there kidnapping that half-naked lady. The film is nothing like these cards.
No. And they usually will not be. I mean, the cards that you get are well, hey, if you think about it, that's misuse of information there. You know, you're deceiving the people that are wanting to see something like that, but you get road burn. You know, so yeah, and it's crazy how that is. You know, but I mean that. But that's with anything. That's the way, even with books. Well, I can't even say books. I say anything that has pictures in them or anything. You know, some televisions. You know, it's always going to be like that. You think you're going to get a whole junk of good stuff, but in the end, it's like, oh, you just got piss water, and that's all it's going to be.
And no one likes piss water.
No, nobody likes piss water at all. But that was the Mysterians, which I can say now after we've done the talk, it's, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like anyone else, you know, we brought up some good points, but of course we got up some points that are not so great. So, all in all, your rating and, well, let's say your overall thought about the picture and your rating of this. And be honest, because we like honesty here.
Well, I'm gonna be fucking honest, Walla.
Yes.
You know me. I like it, but it's not something I would visit as often as that Tokusatsu, you know, Honda films. I think I like it for what it is, but I also feel it's got too many inconsistencies, like things that are annoying is like the whole thing with Mugira. The story is interesting, but there's too like inconsistencies. I like the action. I like the cast is amazing. The effects, the bigger miniatures is on point. But it's not as memorable. In like you see, going into this, hadn't seen it, had heard mixed reactions, mixed reviews, and I'm probably one of them that I like it, but it's not a standout for me personally. If I'm gonna rate it, I'm gonna give it in the middle. I'm only gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
And that's okay. I mean, that's why I say not a lot of people talk about this film, and they know of it, but they don't really discuss it as much. And I realize, like, that's the thing. I, for myself, you know, haven't, because I'm kind of like you know, because I haven't really watched this film in like, oh my God, I think I haven't watched this film in like a couple of years now that I think about it. You know, I mean, it's not as rewatchable as, say, Matango. I mean, I keep going back to that film, but that's only because Matango is that film that I love to watch. And what's funny is the film. I mean, they have trailers on this for other films, and Matango was on this. And when I saw the trailer for Matango, I was like instantly hooked. I'm like, I want to see this film. I want to know what.
Well, I'll go back to what I said before. I feel like Ishiro Honda, I feel as if he put 110% into certain films he's got a lot of passion for. In other films, I feel as if he just did because he was pressured into doing them.
Right.
And like you say, he might be the director, but the script and the story and all that on somebody else's shoulders. Yes, he would have had some impact or some, involvement, but I think the majority, if it's not a film he's truly behind, he'll just direct it, do his best, and then they'll put it out. And I feel as if, me personally, this is one of those films, because you can see the films he's got the passion for. Godzilla 1954, Matango, for example.
Right.
Brilliant. Even you can see it in some of his Godzilla movies. With the ones that stand out and the ones that don't.
Because we know, like I say, the middle of the 60s, it's like he really had a deep passion and real love for what he was doing at that point. I mean, even though some of it was gearing towards more to kids, he still put 100% of what he was doing, So it's, I mean, it's all about what you put into it that you get out of it. And I feel like this movie here is that same thing. And like I say, me personally, I enjoy it for what it, but as you mentioned before, it does have some inconsistencies, it's like, because even I've said certain things like, okay, I don't feel like, because you mentioned before, Magura seemed like he should have had much more screen time, but
the fact that the start of the movie off introducing a kaiju robot that burst out of a mountain, and he destroys a lot of the military, and then he gets shot off a fucking bridge, and you don't see him for the rest of the movie. And then the first time they reintroduce him with no build-up, no return, no mention, he gets his fucking head chopped off.
It's like, wow. Guillotine.
And it's like, they're the kind of inconsistency. Like, why bother bringing Mugira into the story if he wasn't going to have more involvement?
See.
Because if you think about it, there's no real explanation for him.
No.
Other than after he's introduced, it's all about the Mysterians and them wanting the land and to take the women and the dome and, using their, technology. But yet they were also a peaceful race that just wanted 2 meters of land and 5 women. But yet how you introduce yourself to the world is attacking them with a big fucking robot. But yet you're a peaceful pacifist race. Made no sense.
Right. And again, that's just one of the reasons why I feel like this film it's at that core where it is, but at the same time, you can have so-called criticism about it, but that it's not better than other films.
Least with, for example, Invasion of the Astro Monsters. You've got that scene where they leave Godzilla and Rodan on the planet and they fly up and you see them and there's that sad music and they're flying off and they're looking down at them after they've left them there. The controller Planet X has said, right, we need water off yours. We need him to destroy King Ghidorah to protect the planet. As they're flying off, as the fades in the control, you hear the sinister laugh from the controller. So you already know it's a ploy. There's a secret there.
Right.
There's none of that kind of like secrecy or build up or anxiety or what's happening here. It's just it just was too inconsistent. It made no sense to me.
And I feel that's the thing. I mean, because you think about it, this film is fresh and experimental, so they did the best they could, but at the same time, it's like you're not giving the real, because when the movie starts, you get this kind of triumphant tacked on with the telescope logo at the beginning, and then when the title of the movie comes on, it shifts to this kind of less very like ominous kind of like Mysterian kind of way. Yes, it does. It gives that, but it's like, okay, how far is this going to go? And then when you see the film, it's like, okay, I mean, I'm digging it, but it's like this is, but and then it's like it's kind of like, okay, you're not giving me a real sinister antagonist here. You know, it's like it's almost like, okay, their methods are, I mean, their circle goals are meaningful, but it's not so much like, oh, it's threatening. I mean, it's threatening, but it's not so much. It's like twirl mustache kind of motif. You know, it's not like that. It's like they're in a kind of. It's more like this. They're in a right but wrong position, and it's not coming off too good. Whereas at the Xilians in Astro Monster, it's like they know what they want, and they are not playing as much as saying we are the bad guys. We are going to take over. We're going to do some damage. You know. So how we look at it, I mean, it's up to, I guess it's up to the individual. I mean, anyone who watches the film, you know, as you say, they're going to have their moment of shine and say, it's okay. And someone say, man, that was the most brilliant kind of sci-fi ever. But I guess what it comes down to is, what does that individual think about this film? And for me, this film, I can honestly say I can give it I mean, it's a little higher than yours. I give it a 7. Out of all the films, and like I say, this would not be my highest on the list of Honda's films, because as I mentioned before, some would think like Gojira would be the top one. Even though I love that film, and even though I love it, that is not my top Honda film. So, and when I saw Matanga, it's like that changed forever. So it just lets you know, when you feel it, when you see it, when you know it. You be like, say, you be honest with yourself and say, do I like this more than this, or do I like it more than that? And for me, this film, it's good for what it is, but it's not my favorite. And I say it's a classic still. You know, it's almost 70 years old, but it's still there. And hopefully, when people watch it,
it still has its honorable place in science fiction.
Exactly.
And it's, you know.
And it still has that something that's going to be played off for, even though the Spaceball helmets are, I mean, I can't get that out of my head forever now. I mean, once you said that, I can't get that out.
Well, I've never had balls out of my head for a long time, but that's a different story for a different matter. That's
always going to stick with me forever. So, but that being said, we talked about this film and we've had a good discussion. What do you have that's coming in the future on your channel, Mr. Kevin Lambert?
So, coming to the entertainment headquarters on Monday. Well, tomorrow I have 2 things coming, but I've got to keep them a secret.
Okay.
But I will be launching them on the channel tomorrow. And the reason I'm keeping it a secret, just in case one thing doesn't happen, but if one of them things does happen tomorrow, I'll be releasing them both tomorrow night on the channel. So, but I don't want to like release, promote it or do it in case it doesn't happen. But if it happens, it happens, and I'll release it tomorrow. Then on Monday, I will be joined by our good friend, my co-host for the majority time on the entertainment headquarters, Mr. DJ Anubis. We are going to be talking Raw Deal with Arnold Schwarzenegger on the Retro Classic Movie Show. Then after that, on the 15th, you, me, and Mr. DJ Anubis are joining each other for a live review of Predator Badlands.
Yes.
Which I'm seeing earlier that day on Monday. And then on the 22nd, we're still talking Predator because we're doing the franchise special. Where you, me, and a host of amazing others will be talking about the entire Predator franchise except the Alien versus Predator movies. We're sticking just with Predator, so lots of Predator this month and looking forward to it.
So much fun. That's great. Well, for me personally, I have something coming tomorrow where hopefully me and DJ Anubis will join up with me. We'll be discussing a 80s classic, the To Live and Die in LA, which I feel like is a very underrated picture. But then again, it was the 80s. It was overshadowed by a lot of things. But this film is very, very well done for what it was back then. And it turns 40 years old this month, believe it or not. So, and then not Monday, but Tuesday, I will be doing my second top 10 movie explosions, a second outing of this. And trust me, I hope that it blows people away pretty well.
Well, I love a good explosion.
Yes, I mean, hey, who doesn't like a good explosion? And as as my as my co-host mentioned about that next Saturday, I will be joining with him and Anubis where we discussing Predator Badlands, which I feel like that will be a good talk, because if anyone has seen this film, do not listen to any of these stupid motherfuckers saying that it's a bad film or this. Don't listen to them. Go on your own accord, watch it for yourself, and see what you think about it. Because me personally, I enjoyed it, but hey, that's me. I mean, anyone can say whatever, but I will be on there. We'll be discussing it, and we'll have a load of fun discussing it. So,
I sure will. Oh, one other thing I'll add. I've not just before joining this stream, I did release my Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein review on the entertainment headquarters. So if that's just been released, I think yesterday. Yes, Friday the 7th of November. So I watched it when it was released, and I found it to be a mixed bag. I'll be totally honest, for me personally. But if you want to know my thoughts, check out my Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein 2025 review on the entertainment headquarters.
Nice. Yes, because I have to watch it myself then. I mean, because I've been wondering what this film is like, and I probably have to watch your summary of it just to see what you think about it. So yeah. But that's all for the time we have. Thank you, Mr. Lambert, for joining me on this amazing journey.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, talking about the Mysterians. And anyone who's been watching, thank you for joining us. Because, like I say, and before we go with this, see, exactly. So you don't ever let someone tell you critic wise, say that gaslight you, saying that this is not a good film. Don't listen to them, because if you listen to them, you'll be missing out on something amazing.
I've had an amazing time talking about Spaceballs 1957. Okay. Out of this world.
Hey, well, look, there'll be more Spaceballs in the future for whatever. I don't know if you heard about it. They are making a second Spaceballs.
Yeah, I know all about it.
I was like, well, we can't get enough balls.
Be with you.
Yeah. But with that being said, my brother, thank you for joining me on there. I thank you, and anyone who joins me, I thank you all for talking with this. And like I say, if y'all want, when I say want to, but check out Mr. Lambert's entertainment headquarters. He has great content there, and believe me, he's booming, man. He's reaching to the top. So just
thank you all that. Yes. And Mr. Jedi Grand Velle is a big part of that. So
yes. Well, I try.
Check out his face is in a lot of my content.
Well, I'm always in my face is always into something.
So I could not do it without collaborations with amazing people like Mr. Walter Ross, aka Mr. Jedi Grand Velle.
Yes, sir. But hey, we are going to close this out, and people, I hope y'all join us for another one here. But as I always close out, I always say, y'all take care, y'all be patient, and always keep the kaiju love alive. Till then, take care.